The relationship with China and Australia's deportation policy is set to top the agenda when the Prime Minister sits down with his New Zealand counterpart today. Political reporter Trudy McIntosh has more from Queenstown.
It's a flying 24-hour visit across the Tasman, with Scott Morrison preparing to hold his first face-to-face leaders meeting with Jacinda Ardern since the start of the COVID pandemic. Scott Morrison touching down in Queenstown, receiving a warm Maori welcome. No need for social distancing as the PM and Jacinda Ardern perform the traditional Maori greeting. The pair will sit down for formal talks on Monday, with China looming as a potential flashpoint. New Zealand has refused to sign off on several joint Five Eyes statements critical of Beijing, and several Ardern ministers have been critical of Australia's handling of the relationship. Prime Minister Morrison keen to see a united approach to tackle Chinese economic coercion.
There's another opportunity to reinforce our commitment to the security interests of the region, the security interests of our bilateral partnership, and to advance our economic cooperation.
Prime Minister Ardern attempting to downplay the growing divide.
We won't always see every issue in the same way. In this increasingly complex geostrategic environment, family is incredibly important. And Australia, you are our family.
New Zealand expected to raise Australia's continual deportation of citizens convicted of serious crimes, but Sky News understands Australia will not soften its position. The leaders will also focus on the COVID pandemic and their response in the Pacific. Scott Morrison indicating he'd like to open a bigger travel bubble with Pacific neighbours when it's safe to do so.
The idea of a bubble that goes beyond New Zealand and Australia is a real possibility. I only was speaking to our colleagues in the region just last week. Fiji's going through a difficult time at the moment, and we're supporting them to come through that. But whether it's Vanuatu or the Solomon Islands or Fiji or Tonga or any of these places.
With the Trans-Tasman travel bubble open, Jacinda Ardern keen to show off the tourist hub of Queenstown, with the pair addressing local business leaders.
Queenstown is just always so beautiful to visit, and I want you to know that the decision to be here for these very special and momentous talks was not just my own decision.
And I know it has been the tourism industries, more than most, that have had to suffer the most through this pandemic.
Scott Morrison and Jacinda Ardern will kick off Monday's proceedings by laying a wreath together before they sit down for bilateral talks.